Chapter 3, August 15th. Mom used to tell me I was special, that I'd received more knowledge than most descendants. I had a lot of responsibility to carry. She didn't tell me why, just made sure that I was prepared. Still, I used to have nightmares I couldn't remember, and Mom couldn't explain. She'd crawl under the sheets with me and tell stories of the past with a flashlight bouncing off our cave of covers. Mom's hair would get staticky, standing up and sticking to the sheets. She made faces that would help me laugh the tears away. I'm not sure I can still hear her voice, but I remember the cadence, the rhythm of the stories as she would tell me about the beginning when Valde Novo made a world for his precious creations, human beings. He wanted to share his accomplishment with his son, Cato Filius, but the son wanted to wield his father's power. Cato tried to imitate the creations of Valde Novo, but without the love and understanding his father had, the creatures Cato created were incomplete, empty souls that craved sorrow. Demons. Mom's voice would go low when she talked about the demons. She'd come in close and wrap her arms around me, like she would protect me from all the darkness in the world. I know now there is far more darkness than even a mother's love can chase away. When Valde Novo returned to Earth to check on his creations, he found that the demons had run wild, corrupting humans and magnifying sorrow, enhancing selfishness and cruelty. Valde Novo banished his son to the earth, leaving Cato Filius with all the knowledge of creation, but none of his father's energy, no influence over the kingdoms he had once ruled. Before leaving the earth, Valde Novo gave one final gift to humanity. He chose 3 of the purest souls and divided the knowledge and energy of creation between them, commanding them to bring hope and happiness through miracles. The angels' single purpose was to defend humans against the horde of demons directed by Cato Filius. Mom would stop, making sure my head was down on the pillow. She'd touch my eyelids with her fingertips, brushing my eyes closed. She'd whisper their names into my ear like she was counting sheep. Adiona, the angel of life, Samuel, the angel of elements, and Baldur, the angel of light. I can hear Jake in the next room, fighting his own nightmares. My foster brother has his own pain, a pain I cannot take away. I think about telling him the story to help him fall back to sleep. It isn't a story for ordinaries, but Jake can't tell anyone. Treadon Nelson. Treadon watched the girl's movements, feeling like he was an outside observer. He could read her intentions, saw the muscle flex, and knew her fingers were going to jab into his windpipe, cutting off his breath, leaving her free to run. The part of Treadon that had always wanted to fit in, wanted to be normal, considered letting the hit land so she wouldn't know he could tell what she was about to do. But there was another part of him that won out, an unconscious impulse to protect, not just himself, but this girl in front of him. His hand came up, knocking her fist aside. She used the momentum to spin, lifting her leg to kick the side of his knee. She was fast, her movements fluid, her body balanced. He stepped back to avoid the kick, but she adjusted, landing on both feet, facing him, and went for 3 punches to his stomach. Treadon blocked with his left arm, then his right, pushing her arm aside. He could have blocked the third, could see what she was planning to do, and knew he had time to react, but for some reason, that was what the girl was expecting. She thought he had to defend herself against him. Treadon let the third punch land. There was strength behind her swing, and the impact knocked the air out of him. He bent over and grabbed his stomach. Now she was surprised, and she hesitated. He had half a second. "I'm not who you think I am." He looked up at her, reading her reaction. "I'm not what you think I am." "What do you think you are?" She remained tense, her hands raised in front of her, prepared for another offensive attack. An enemy. Treadon took a step back to give her space, to prove he wasn't a threat. He looked around, expecting to see a crowd around them, or someone yelling, "Fight!" No one had noticed a girl taking on a football player still wearing his uniform. He felt that wave of nausea again. It had nothing to do with the bruise he was sure to have on his stomach. "What's going on right now? Why did you shove me?" The girl asked why, but Treadon read a different word. She wanted to know how he had been able to shove her. "Someone is about to run into you. I thought I was helping you get out of the way." "I don't need anyone's help," she said. eyes narrowing. She sucked in the corner of her lip. "You don't believe that," Treadon said, like he was reading a fact book. He wished he could suck the words back in. "Are you reading my thoughts right now?" The girl put her hands on her hips. "You think you know what I believe?" "No," Treadon said, putting up his hands like he could wipe the words away. "I meant, everyone needs help sometimes. My name is Treadon Nelson." He turned and pointed to the last name stenciled across his uniform. The girl lowered her hands. Her lips remained tight, her eyebrows pulled down in suspicion. "And you're really just a football player?" Her voice had an odd note, relief, but still an edge of concern. "And you noticed me?" His curiosity warred with his commitment to hide what he could do. Curiosity won. He looked up at her. "Why wouldn't I notice you? You're different." Her face tightened, and he could see that her hatred of that word reflected his own. He never should have said it. He knew how much he hated being called different. "I mean, you look good. Beautiful. And you walk nice. And people get out of your way. And you hit hard, and so, yeah, I noticed you." He couldn't stop the words. He wanted to melt into the pavement. Don't do that again." "What? Notice you?" She sent him a sideways look, her muscles fighting a smile, but the real fear, whatever had set her on the defense from the beginning, still controlled her features. "Yes, right. Don't notice me. I don't know if I can help it. Don't worry, you won't see me again." She turned, flipping her hair over her shoulder, like it was a final goodbye. "Wait." She paused. "What are you afraid of?" he asked. She turned around and stepped right up to him. She was shorter than him, but with her face turned up and his turned down, their noses almost touched. He caught a whiff of strawberry shampoo. Her eyes bored into him, dark brown pools that could have pulled him in, but instead dared him to look away, begged him to look away. "I'm sorry," Treadon said. "I'll leave you alone, but I want to help if I can." "How do you do that?" Her curiosity was genuine. "I don't know." He felt like he was taking a flying leap off the edge of a cliff, but he didn't have a lot left to lose with this girl. Her closeness was more of a threat than an advance. "I've always been able to read people. It kinda sucks." She stepped back. The way her shoulders fell, the way the fight drained away, spoke of disappointment. Not all of it was directed at him. "And you play football? That's it? Do you do anything else with it?" "I'm not proud of it. It makes me weird. Different." She echoed the word he'd said to her earlier. "Yeah." She took another step back, and it felt like a canyon opened between them. You could see so much, and choose to see nothing. Her full disappointment hit him in the middle with almost as much force as her punch. There was a honk from the parking lot. Treadon turned to see his mom waving to him from the car. When he turned back around, the girl was gone. He hadn't even asked her name. Treadon picked up his duffel bag and jogged over to the blue Pontiac that was held together with duct tape and prayers. He threw his duffel bag in the back seat and climbed in the front. "Thanks for picking me up, Mom." He avoided looking at her, keeping his eyes out the window. Being able to read people came as an advantage on the football field, but he tried to ignore it the most at home. Even when he tried to close his eyes to it, he could read the unhappiness, worry, and overall unease in his mother's shoulders. Her smile always seemed to snag on something when she tried to pin it on. The problem was Gabe. He slipped in and out of their lives, disappearing for weeks at a time, showing up like a wrecking ball. He wasn't drunk or abusive or anything Treadon could put his finger on. The guy was unreadable, cold. His mom worked. Gabe traveled. He never brought home a paycheck, and the weight of the finances fell to his mom. Treadon was going to change that after this year. "How was practice?" she asked. Abigail ran her hand to push back her hair. Her fingers paused on the long scar just along her hairline. A nervous habit, the memory of an injury from a long time ago. "It was good." Treadon leaned back against the headrest, breathing in the pine air freshener that almost covered the slight smell of burning oil and old musty car smell. It was so hard to explain to her how he felt. Abigail would never be able to earn enough with her job to help him pay for college, but now, with the NIL, he could help support her the way Gabe never had. Treadon needed to lead the team to an undefeated year if he wanted to make the kind of money that would finally make a difference, to be able to help his mom move on, find happiness. He could do it for her. but he couldn't fight the nagging feeling telling him that he shouldn't leave her alone. A sense of protectiveness had always made it hard to imagine leaving his mom with only Gabe. The girl's words haunted him like she was sitting in the back seat. "And you choose to play football?" Her words echoed the feeling he couldn't quite put a name to, this belief that he was meant to do something more important than win a football game.